for that to pop into parts of the south and east. This comes after yesterday's storms that we saw, especially in Alabama. I mean, we started the day yesterday dealing with flooding, and then we finished the day yesterday dealing with more flooding, and we had a number of reports coming in. This was from Sylacauga, where there's widespread flooding, water approaching buildings. That was earlier in the day. Columbiana had reports of flooding in downtown, water over roads. Hoover had major flooding at the country club there due to water rising. And you look at the totals based on radar estimates, it was, 3 to 4 inches. There were many spots that had 5 or 6 inches. And in fact, at the airport in Birmingham, we had more than 6 inches of rain, more than 6.5 inches of rain, our wettest June day on record, and our 6th wettest overall. So it was a deluge of a day. Let's show you, though, where by tomorrow we start to see our next round of showers and storms. This actually comes from that big complex of storms that Alex was talking about. It's going to travel all the way down here into the deep south. We've got plenty of moisture to feed into it. Look at our dew points, mid-70s in Houston. That is air that gives you a shower, basically. New Orleans, we've got dew points in the 70s. There's some drier air that's been nudging in across parts of Tennessee and over here into northern Georgia. But where we have that moisture gradient right in here, this is going to be the zone that we watch here feed into that thunderstorms and sort of have that ability for that complex of storms to travel kind of right over and along that. I mean, you'll see it. This is Friday noon. Same complex Alice was talking about. Sink south, Greenville, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, right over that gradient of moisture. Kenwood, we also have the rain and storms. Some of these could be strong or severe. This is now Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock. So now, not only do we have the moisture in place, but the daytime heating has given us more instability. So we are going to see that risk of severe weather, watching for damaging winds as the main threat. There'll also be a hail threat as well. Always, can't rule out the isolated tornado. And then that goes off the coast Friday night, and we pick it up into Saturday morning. It might travel all the way to Florida. So speaking of traveling, storm complexes are doing it.
Yeah.
We're all doing it. 'Tis the season for road trips and beach trips.
It is, and you don't want to see big clusters of storms coming towards you when you go into the beaches. That is for sure. But this all brings us to our question of the day, because we're actually for. There's maybe a couple of folks that I would, but woo, you got to be special to do that.
I agree. There's a few I would do it too, but not many,
Yeah, right.
Oh boy, what a night. And that was actually not too far from Ellicottville, Maryland, where you remember back in 2016 they had all the flooding, and they closed down Main Street. They did a lot of precautions last night just in case the rain got too heavy. Yeah,
I mean, and you got to do it. I mean, we've seen what flooding can do, so you really have to be prepared. And it looks like they did what they needed to do to assure that things didn't get out of hand.
It was safe.
Yeah.
Today's storms, there's still a few this morning in the Northeast, one spot to watch, but the big deal for severe weather is going to be across the Heartland, and we could have some really nasty windstorms today. Yeah, I think that's going to be a big deal, and we're going to watch how that all kind of travels. Across the Heartland, and we could have some really nasty windstorms today. Yeah, I think that's going to be a big deal, and we're going to watch how that all kind of travels over the next 24 to 36 hours. It does travel. It is on a road trip here. The price of gas, let's show you what it's going to be dealing with. So we've got an area to watch today with the risk of thunderstorms right here across the Heartland. We're talking about Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, but we're expecting a big cluster of thunderstorms to form as we get into the overnight, and that is what Alex was referring to. That is on the move to travel. What kind of weather could we see? Hail is a possibility, 1 inch greater in size, and in fact there could be some areas where you get larger hail than that, like 2 inch size hail or greater, golf ball size hail or larger. We're talking about North Platte and Kearney in Nebraska, and Hayes and Garden City and Colby in Kansas, all areas that have that risk. Now watch those thunderstorms pop. This is afternoon and evening. I mean, it may be after dark, really, that some of the worst of the weather happens. It's 10 o'clock tonight. You've got some thunderstorms here. Look at Kansas, look at Oklahoma and the Texas Panhandle, and watch this in Nebraska. That's what I'm keeping my eye on, because I think that's what's going to evolve into our big cluster of storms. You see it sinking south out of Lincoln, Kansas City. For the second time this week, you're not going to get a good night of sleep because thunderstorms come through overnight while you're sleeping. They head south. This cluster of storms on the move makes it to Springfield by 5 o'clock in the morning, making good time, right? It is still still ongoing actually and heading south as we get through tomorrow, all the way down through parts of Missouri, Arkansas, and I'll track that. But, through tonight, we're also watching parts of the southeast with just some general scattered showers and storms, kind of like we just saw yesterday. So that's going to be something we watch today. So let's look at that. We've got scattered showers out there right through the afternoon, Tallahassee, the I-10 corridor. Believe it or not, though, places like Birmingham, you are getting a complete break today with no showers or storms. Atlanta, maybe a few sprinkles or showers this morning, but then a complete break. Nashville, we've got the CMA Fest going on, and you could not have asked for better weather. You guys, this is amazing with the lower humidity and no storms. Now, we're going to be watching for tomorrow, though, things to change. Luckily, Nashville, Birmingham, Atlanta, Asheville, you all get to keep your good weather. But that cluster of storms, which is traveling, is on the move, and here it goes, coming down through Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. So what we pick up the radar, the forecast radar, on Friday morning. Remember, this was in Springfield at 5 a.m., and now by tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., it's moved through Little Rock and heading south to Greenville in Mississippi and Monroe, Louisiana, Jackson, Mississippi. We get it into the afternoon, and 6 o'clock, it arrives in New Orleans. I mean, that is a trip.
That is a journey.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It is a journey.
We'll be watching that very closely. Meanwhile,
the backpack beach chair. Everyone has to wear their own.
Okay.
I put the umbrella in my chair, just in between, the seat and the back. And I put my towel in there too. There's 2 pockets. The top one has my book and my sunscreen and my camera or whatever. The bottom is a little cooler bag. That's where I put water and some snacks. And then I'll bring a cooler. Everyone has to do this. Everyone brings their own snacks, own water.
So you're on your own, basically, you're saying.
Yes, and then
tracking the threat for more storms for today, maybe not in that particular zone, but back into where we have dealt with it for a good portion of this week.
It's been a really stormy week across the plains with some nasty storms too. Like we had, 2 days ago, big hail that was knocking out windshields in South Dakota. Let me show you where storms like that could form today. We've got the risk of all modes of severe weather, damaging winds, hail, and there's an isolated tornado risk. The bigger risk, though, is certainly, I think, the wind. We've got a lot of wind energy in the atmosphere, plus the fact that, we've got that big heat dome off to the south. A lot of times when you see storms form around a big ridge like we have, and that's a ridge of high pressure to the south with the heat,